Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by Project Turnaround Specialist Richard Broo. Richard has spent decades helping companies and stepping in, in quiet moments of crisis when, things are going sour, projects are failing, and clarity of leadership is slipping. He has done things like help a company avoid bankruptcy and make a sale, and, helping companies succeed in high stakes moments when they might be failing. So we're going to be talking to Richard about the great work that he's doing and everything that he's going to be up to and that he's up to. So, Richard, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Richard Broo. I am a project management expert. I started my career roughly 49 years ago as a young buck in the plastics industry. And I've worked for Fortune 500 companies such as Owens Corning, Black & Decker, and GE Plastics. I've also had two startups that were put underneath my command. And I now have my own company called True North PMP Consulting. And our mission is to help small to medium-sized businesses improve their project delivery systems so that they can get to market quicker, with less money, with less risk, and with better profitability and competitive differentiation.
Well, you often step into organizations in quiet moment of crisis. So talk about some of the early warning signs that leaders miss before things actually start to unravel.
Okay, there were a couple of them when I was at GE. I was asked to go in and help turn around GE Silicones, which had been slowly declining. And some of the early warning sign systems that they had missed was, everybody knows GE Silicones and they see it in Lowe's and Home Depot, but there's more to GE Silicones than what the normal person sees to the eye. But specifically in the automotive market, they saw erosion every year, and a significant erosion on the order of about $10 million per year going down. It was once in automotive about $120 million business. And the early signs that they missed was the market was shifting away from traditional silicones for automotive to things that you and I would not even think of when we walk into a car showroom or we drive our car. It's a little thing called buzz, squeak, and rattle. That means your door squeaking or something rattling in the car. And that was where the market was transitioning to, those types of products, as well as products that were being used to assemble engine blocks. And the competitors were already out there 3 or 4 years before GE, and the management that was in there thought that was just an anomaly. But in fact, it was the downfall of GE Silicones. And so I went in there and we had to do a complete product remix. We had to enter new markets and market segments which GE never was before. And we were able to turn it all around. When I took it over, Detroit was around 54 million, and we got it back up to 80 million before I was asked to move on and do another job at GE.
Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
You often speak about how small decisions tend to compound. So can you give an example how a seemingly minor choice had massive consequences?
Absolutely. I did a turnaround about 3 years ago for a company in the medical packaging business. And they were under I guess, the mindset that in order to keep the competition out, that they would work on lower margins than what they normally would. So these are medical packaging that was used for oncology and hematology, very critical stuff. And so when I was asked to go in on the turnaround, the first thing I looked at was, well, why was this company failing financially? And what came down to was they had this mindset that low margin, more business. Well, it really didn't translate to that. It was low margin, low profit. You can't even cover some of your basic expenses. So I had to revamp that whole commercial structure and take it from an 8% contribution margin up to a 25. But it was that mindset that is, no, we have competition from Japan and Germany. We want to hold them out with being a low price producer. And that's okay in some instances, but when you're dealing with a high ticket item, that's really not the mindset you want to be thinking about.
Well, when you first walk into a failing project, what is the first thing that you actually focus on? People, process, or truth telling?
Absolutely, Curtis. First thing you look at is um, it's like a doctor. You take a, status of what the project is, what's working well, what's not working well. You got to figure out in what's not working well. Well, what are some root causes? Because you got to get to root cause corrective action. And then you have to whittle each root cause corrective action down to the one or two that will really turn the ship around. So I do that type of analysis first. Then I look at the processes that they're using. And in the case of the company I turned around, they had no project management process. It was like whatever what someone wanted to do on the production floor that day or in the engineering department, they did it. No documentation, nothing. So it was a matter of putting in some process discipline and making sure that people followed that discipline. And then it was the people. Did the company have the right people in the right jobs? They did not. They were good people, but they were just miscast, if you will. So it was trying to get these people in the right roles with the right responsibilities and authorities that they can really shine on what they do and how they did it. And the end of the whole story is we turned the company around and we sold it for about 22 million, which was about 5 more million worth in its assets. But those are the things you look at first coming through the door.
Well, avoidance is a recurring theme in your work. Talk about why leaders tend to avoid things that they know that are critical, and how do you help them break that habit?
The biggest issue I see in my work is that the leadership team on small to medium sized companies, they have a vision, they have a direction, and they basically entrust that to the people that work for them and they disengage because they figure, well, Curtis has this, so we'll put this in Curtis's hands and we will talk to Curtis when Curtis comes up to the level to talk to us, so we need to talk to Curtis. Why do they do that? Well, a little bit is trust. I mean, if you and I have been working together for 20 years, we know one another, we know how we work, and in most cases that it should work, that whatever you or I would do for you should work. But uh, what really happens is at the levels below them, the people get into an issue. They try to fix that issue, but they mucky it up or they can't do it. And then it's going to come up to your office, Curtis, as the CEO, and I'm going to say, Curtis, I got a real tiger by the tail here, and it's biting me, and I can't fix it. The solution to that, and what I tell leadership is, you have a responsibility to stay connected throughout the whole project. You just can't ask or direct and then walk away and expect it to show up at a certain date. You have a responsibility to stay connected to your project teams, your project sponsors. You have a responsibility to make sure that you are actively engage in making sure that what you are requesting as the leader of a company is in fact being accomplished. You have a responsibility to respond when asked for help. And a lot of leaders will get that response and they'll sit on it because they don't think it's a priority. It is a priority. Why? Because you put people into a situation to accomplish something, you put money into the game. So if you disengage from those two things, you're basically out there in left field waiting for the ball game to be over.
Well, I know you help guide a company through bankruptcy to a successful sale. So talk about what that experience taught you about leadership under extreme pressure.
First, as I told their board of directors, you need to step back as leaders. And I answered to a board, you need to step back and first figure out, why did you get into this conundrum? Don't react right away, because you'll probably just exacerbate the problem. So first, as a leader, don't criticize, don't get angry, figure out why you are in the position you are in. What are all the triggers that got you there? And then the next lesson learned is start to find root cause. Sometimes it's not more people. Sometimes it's not more money. Sometimes it's you're just approaching something in a way that will not allow you to achieve what you want to achieve. So in the case of the bankruptcy that I turned around, they kept on throwing more people and more money, and they were money scarce to begin with. When in essence, it all came down to process